Hello. Hello, Raylene. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you, Sarah, so much for joining me in sharing this information with everybody. It's fantastic to be here with you.
It's great to be here. So for those of you who don't know, Raylene and I have been friends for quite some time, many years, in fact, working in the registered training organisation space. Raylene Bartlett is the CEO and owner of RTO Doctor and is a specialist in RTO compliance, as well as being a qualified legal advisor in the RTO compliance space and international CRICOS space as well. So Raylene and I have worked closely for a very long time in supporting registered training organisations and indeed non-accredited training providers, private training providers, to ensure that they are delivering quality training and within the guidelines of the various accredited bodies and registered bodies. I myself have been the director of a university, and so both of us are coming at you today. We thought, we were having a chat the other night over a glass of wine, weren't we, Ray? And thought this is a time where everyone is going through a huge amount of stress, a huge amount of change, and a huge amount of challenge. Whether you are a registered training organisation or indeed just a private training provider, we are all going through a time right now where the way in which we deliver our education is dramatically shifting. We are all being forced to move online or, quite frankly, face shutting up shop. So as Ray and I were having a glass of wine the other night, we thought, right, we need to jump on. We need to just get some information out there and a few quick tips as to how training providers can survive this tough time. Ray, can you tell us some of the things that we might cover today?
Yeah, look, Sarah, I thought it was really important to have a chat about some of the basics around how to survive as an RTO in the coming days and weeks. I've been fielding a lot of inquiries from different providers over the last couple of days, even just saying, how do I stay afloat financially when financial viability is one of the key requirements for registration as an RTO? And, you know, particularly in the space where they've been just a short course provider or they've only ever done face-to-face training, they just don't know how to get over to an online space quickly and effectively. I've also been talking to a lot of providers about stepping into the non-accredited training space, because just because someone is a registered training organisation, it doesn't mean that all of their eggs have to be in one basket. And there is a huge amount of opportunity available to everybody in the non-accredited training space. And that is something that you are absolutely an expert in. I know you've done it in over 146 countries in the world, and I know you've got a really special offer going on at the moment for people who are really struggling in this space. And I wanted to make RTO owners around the country aware of that special offer, because it will really help them jumpstart their attempts to go into the online learning space.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for mentioning that, Raylene. For those of you watching the video, there is a link at the bottom of the screen there. I've actually made access available to my best-selling online course, How to Create Profitable Online Courses, available completely free of charge to people at this time. That course normally sells for $500 US, but right now you can gain full access to that entire program if you go to sarahcordiner.com/freedom. And the techniques delivered in that program will suit you whether you are an individual person at home with nothing more than a hobby that you want to turn into a commercial online education product, an online course, right the way through to large registered training organizations and institutions. It will take you through planning an online course, how to structure it out, how differently it needs to be presented to go online versus how you would deliver something face-to-face, and how to actually structure that, upload it into an online platform and enable payment gateways and automated administration, so you're not giving yourself more work to do to get that out there. And at the very end of that, there's also a bonus module, which is all about online marketing, because I think this is another thing for training providers, Raylene, isn't it, is that we have become so familiar with the way that we do business, with people finding our RTO and you know, following traditional pathways into deciding what courses to take. Now, RTOs and private training organizations are going to be forced to move into a bigger world of marketing if they're going to survive, particularly now where there's going to be quite an increase of competition in some ways. And so that really, learning all of that stuff is really important as well. So we're going to be talking a little bit about how we can start repurposing some of this accredited training that we have into non-accredited training so that you can actually access a global marketplace. Now, I'm sure, Aileen, you can talk about later on the legalities of how that might be able to be used later on for RPL. If you do decide, for those students do decide to maybe upgrade what they do in a non-accredited sense online so that you can remain compliant in the fact you're not offering accredited training. However, design that online learning in a way that does make it useful and usable as something that can be RPL'd if students choose to do that later on.
Absolutely. And at the moment where we've got a lot of staff either being made redundant or working from home or just being stood down, it's a perfect opportunity for them to be undertaking professional development, maintaining their currency in knowledge and skills, and even learning about new technology, because I have this funny feeling, my gut tells me, that in the months to come, the entire education industry will be transformed by what we're going through now, and even our regulatory bodies will be more acceptable and open to the online learning space. I think what we're shit. Oh, absolutely, fingers crossed. But I think that this is an opportunity for us to really pull together and demonstrate how excellent and quality online learning opportunities can be, and we really do have an opportunity to change the regulatory space by doing it right. So
Absolutely.
I'm really excited.
That's good. Well, look, I'm going to jump straight into where one of the first places I'd suggest training providers begin when it comes to transitioning online. Now, one of the benefits that training organizations have, whether you're a registered training organization or a private provider, is that you already have all of your content ready. And so you're already a massive step ahead of a lot of consultants and coaches who are having to start from scratch with any kind of learning content. A lot of those deliver their advice ad hoc as per client situation. So training providers, you already have your content, so you are a big step ahead. It's going to feel overwhelming because, as we know, qualifications and units of competency are humongous, and more than anything, your challenge is going to be having to not succumb to the feeling of overwhelm at the amount that there is to do. Number one would be pick your most profitable course. Pick the one that has the most students enrolling all of the time. You are going to have a little bit of administration to do to get this off the ground. You are going to need to pay some staff to help you out do this. So I would encourage you to pick the qualification or units of competency that are the most popular, because that will then bring you the fastest return on your investment. What I would then do is really enforce this new way of seeing how you're going to deliver online, is that online learning needs to be bite-sized. At the moment, we are very familiar delivering face-to-face training with bringing all of our students in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they stay there half day or full day, and you literally deliver one massive session in 4 or 8 hours long, and then obviously repeat that for however long your program is. Now, with online learning, learners jump in and out. Their learning is done in very, very small bites, and therefore you need to start looking at your units of competency, your qualifications, break them down into units of competency, break those down into your elements or your performance criteria or your skills, and make each key lesson, each key learning outcome, each key required skill or required knowledge a single video for every tiny piece. And try your best to keep each of those videos as short as you can. This is less about setting context and telling the stories that you might lay a foundation with if you're in a classroom. In a classroom, you might go back and talk about that time when this happened and then tie that into the learning. With online classes, you need to teach the thing and get straight to the thing, because that's what people are coming online to do, is to be able to skip straight to the lessons. Use your social learning areas, your discussion boards, for people to be able to have those ongoing conversations and provide context through your trainer assessors. But this is where, look at each of your elements or your performance criteria and say, how can I break this down into the smallest possible pieces, and provide a video to deliver that one piece per video, one video per piece. Then I would recommend, in terms of how do you do that video, best way, most engaging, highest completion rates are going to be having your trainer's face on camera. Now, this may require some of your trainers to have a little bit of nudging, because again, put them in front of 3,000 people. in the room and they freak out. And that is because nobody is born knowing how to speak to camera, and it's very, very challenging for classroom teachers to move to online learning because they are so used to engaging in that human interaction and feeding and adapting their presentation style based on what they see in front of them. And of course, the second you're looking down a lens,
you and I had so many giggles when I went through this process.
I can't see anyone. Are they listening to me? Am I speaking right? What do I say next? And it's a real shift in skill set. So all I can say to you guys is persist with practice. When you're doing a live stream or filming your videos, turn your phone off. Rating. So make sure your trainer's got your video off too. There we go. See how that works straight up. And this is another reason why filming those videos in short little bites is also really, really important, because that way your trainer only has to remember that one key thing they're going to teach, they film the video, they stop the video, they move on to the next part. And the other good thing about that is you can then create mix and match content that your learners can start to create their own pick and mix content that they want to learn from. You can put all of this content up into an academy and people can pay a subscription to access all of it rather than just the one qualification or the one unit of competency. So my advice from my end, and I'm speaking from a non-accredited capacity, whereas Raylene is going to speak to you more from the accredited side of things, is there are a lot of complications and grey areas around what is compliant online in regards to the regulatory bodies. What can you and can you not assess? How can you submit the evidence requirements? How do you make sure that it's a valid assessment and meeting the assessment requirements when it's all online? And that is one of the biggest concerns, obviously, that RTOs have. We don't want to do something now that is going to make us non-compliant when it comes down to an audit situation. So from my perspective, and Raylene will speak to this after me, is I would personally, if it was my RTO, I would create non-accredited equivalents of all of my qualifications, units of competencies and skill sets. I would literally teach the same content exactly as it is, attach all the same workbooks exactly as they are, attach and upload all of the same assessments exactly as they are, but not make the online version an accredited course. Because what I would do at the very end of that online course is the students will go through all of the training, the system will track their progress, show what units, every lesson that they've completed. They will still have to submit all of those assessments. I would then offer them an upsell at the end. If you pay this added on price, you can go and do this, this, and this assessment and either get RPL or this can contribute towards a formal accredited assessment. Raylene, I'd really love to hear your feedback on that.
Yeah, look, my opinion is the same as yours, Sarah. This is a perfect opportunity to turn some of our more popular qualifications, for example, into non-accredited training. And even once this coronavirus stuff is out of the way, we can still sell those courses later down the track. I'm just thinking about things like business qualifications that include units like managed conflict, roster staff, and cultural diversity training. You know, these are hot topics all the time, and there is no reason why people wouldn't be able to develop non-accredited courses on how to better manage conflict, how to better integrate cultural diversity in their workplaces, just all how to conduct an interview, how to do a roster. In terms of hospitality training, for example, they may decide that they want to show people how to develop a recipe and portioning and things like that. Things that they're doing as part of their accredited training, they can turn into a non-accredited course, and then they can sell that forever and a day as long as that course remains online. But then RPLing, it's a completely new video altogether, and we may have to do that. But there is a huge opportunity there to, as you say, with the evidence of participation, learning, assessment, and all of the evidence that we're capturing in the online environment, we can then offer recognition of prior learning to students, and where there are any gaps because we haven't been able to perform the evidence live, for example, or we haven't been able to conduct it in the workplace, then we can do that as part of a gap training and assessment program once everything sort of comes back to normal and we're able to access a workplace. So absolutely, there is a huge scope here just for doing basic courses that everybody has access to, everybody can access, and everybody needs.
Absolutely. And you touched on a fantastic point there that ties into something I said before, that you already have so much content there. And this is a great opportunity for, in the times that you've been so busy delivering face-to-face training, you haven't taken advantage of how many assets you have as a training provider. And one of the things I'd be doing right now is I would be going through all of those bookshelves. I'd be going through all those folders, all those hard drives on the computer, all the filing cabinets, and I'd be pulling out every single resource. I'd be bringing out all of those workbooks, all of those learner guides, all of those assessments. I would be having a look at them all and going, how can I sell these? Can I sell any of these as they are? And all you simply need to do is perhaps tidy them up. You can pop them online. It's really simple to do this using some really simple public technology. For those of you who haven't heard of it, one of the ones that I use is Thinkific. If you haven't heard of Thinkific before, they are basically a learning management system. You can open up a free account and start selling as soon as you connect your payment gateways to that. You could have other training providers right now who would buy your content, your learner guides, your assessments. Perhaps there are organizations out there who now are having to provide their professional development training to their staff remotely and online, where previously they had an in-house training department. This is your opportunity to go, hey, I can either sell you the online course training videos for this, or I can simply sell you the self-study learner guides and workbooks and assessments for your staff to access from home. And you can either sell that directly to the organization or to the employees themselves, depending on who it is that you're working with. But I bet my bottom dollar that every single RTO and private training provider listening to this has thousands, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of assets in the form of resources just sat on their computers doing nothing. And now is the time that people are going to be looking for this stuff that they can buy, download, and start using straight away by accessing your content. So don't forget about what you already have. This isn't necessarily about creating something new.
Absolutely. And in terms of trainer and assessor currency and competency and demonstrating that you've maintained your professional development and vocational training and teaching and learning and all of that stuff, this is a perfect opportunity as well through the online environment to collect evidence of knowledge and skills that you've developed and the application of that knowledge and skills, and to be able to show how it has impacted your ability as a trainer and assessor to deliver your classes. Even things like classroom management. So many people struggle with things like classroom management. If someone did a course on that and ran it for all the trainers, absolutely, everybody could conduct their PD and get it done and demonstrate via a video that they upload on the LMS that they're choosing. I know Thinkific has the ability to do that. They have the evidence that they have applied the learning, and therefore they're capturing the evidence that they need for standards 1.3 to 1.6 of standards for RTOs in terms of trainer competency and currency. So there's just so much scope here for people to really catch up and to get all of their eggs out of one basket. And the scope for non-accredited training is so large and broad, using tools and resources that people already have. There is no reason why in this day and age, with all of the resources that RTOs have, that they should be closing down in this current environment. There are huge stimulus packages being made available by the government for investment in things like having to change over technology if you need to buy new computers and software and stuff just to be able to manage the COVID-19 crisis. The money is there. The tax breaks are being made available to employers and employees everywhere. It's a perfect opportunity to start dispersing all of your eggs, making it financially viable again.
Yeah, and another tip would be for those of you who are finding time to be a little bit quieter at the moment, perhaps there are some people out there who are welcoming this little bit of downtime. But one of the things you can also be doing is, if you're not focusing on commercialization or transitioning into an online service-based business at this particular point in time, you can be using this time to automate and tidy up your training provider business. So one of the things you could be doing, for instance, is you could start putting your own staff training online. You can start putting instructional videos together for your current and future trainer assessors. Perhaps you could put a video together, for instance, where you walk people how to conduct an observation assessment, and go through your actual own observation checklist, observation assessments, walk through how you want them to be filled out. Perhaps you have ways in which students should be submitting your documentation. Perhaps there are certain processes, or there should be if you're compliant, for your trainer assessors to be following when they are conducting assessments, how they need to file and record all of that information, how to use your record management system, for instance. You could now be using this time to record videos to do that, so that as we move forward, you're going to be far more focused on delivery rather than having to constantly follow up with trainers who haven't done things right, because that's not there.
Process, and streamline your orientation process. There is absolutely no reason why you can't put your student orientation program online. Why not? It makes it so much easier for those international students who are waiting to come, waiting for our borders to reopen. You can already provide them with the orientation program online.
Now, Ray, talking of international student orientation programs, I know that you have an online course of your own on this. Can you share that with us?
I do. It's on the International Student Experts Academy. And you're right, I absolutely forgot about that. Earlier this year, or was it last year? I think it was last year. I went to Broome and sat down with Sarah for a day. We put together the course in a day. That's how quickly this particular program that Sarah is offering can be done. You can actually put your course together in a day. But the International Student Experts online orientation program was actually developed in one day for the purpose of orienting international students who are overseas or onshore. The Academy version currently is a generic version with the intention of being available to be customised and contextualised to different training providers if desired and if required. But at the moment, it's a generic platform. Absolutely. Thank you for the reminder.
I don't know how you forgot all of that hard work, because although the putting it online bit only took a day, obviously Raylene has spent a very long time putting together the content for it to go online in the first place. So you did a lot of hard work that I'm amazed you forgot about, but you are a woman of many balls in the air. So this is a fantastic point that Raylene has raised here. You have staff inductions, trainer assessor inductions, you have student inductions and orientations. All of those things could be something you start systemizing, automating, and putting online, so that either happens before they arrive. Obviously, there's some things that they can only do in situ if it's an in-person type training program. However, this is going to save you so much time in the future. It's going to save your trainers time, which means it's going to save you wages overheads. You can get straight into the learning, get your students moving, and obviously start getting those milestone payments as well if you're on a milestone payment system.
I've also got another brain thing happened. I was thinking about RTOs and international education providers as well, who might have third-party agreements or agents that need to be monitored. This is also a fantastic opportunity to put your third-party agreement information into a short, brief course, which also contains the agreements, terms and conditions, any payment requirements and so forth. That can all be captured in the online space. And in terms of monitoring education agents, which is, of course, one of the requirements of the ESOS National Code, you could also make sure that the education agents have been provided with a course introducing them to your college, their obligations under their agent agreement. You can use this space for monitoring and confirming that they're still complying. If you're finding problems with their application forms or the compliance of their documentation, this is a space where you can have that interactive engagement with those agents, and then have that evidence in the background for when there's an audit. whether it be now or in 6 months or 12 months, you've always got that evidence online available that you did monitor. And it's so easy to capture that evidence in this space. It was just a thought that came to mind. Sorry.
When you stick around here, you're going to get all the tips fired at you. It's pretty exciting times. So Raylene, there's a couple of tips there of some places to begin when you are thinking about which one of my programs do I put online. We've talked a little bit about some of the things you can put online as byproducts. You can put on accredited versus non-accredited, and also you can start using this for streamlining, automation, and saving your time and efficiency management later on down the line. Raylene, any other thoughts and tips here that we could be giving to people about moving online?
Immediately, I think that if people have any questions about moving online for non-accredited training, I think that you are absolutely the expert in that, and they should absolutely access the Freedom course online that you're giving away for free. I know that you've also got a course, Edupreneur to Entrepreneur, course creators. And there's a lot of people who are, I believe it's something like 800 people have joined in the last 24 hours alone. And they're all going through similar situations and problems about how to achieve different things. And you are very engaged with your group there. So if they've got questions, that's something that they can go to for help. So I really encourage them to join that group if this is something that they think that they can do. I think in terms of wondering how they can transition this from an online non-accredited program to an RPL program, definitely they can contact me and I will put them in touch with the right people to assist them if I can't assist them myself. In terms of financial viability and stimulus packages and things like that that are available to assist people to implement some of these things, even though the programs that we're talking about are completely free, the costs involved in setting them up and establishing them may not be. And therefore there are certain measures that the government has put in place for people to be able to keep them employed and keep businesses running. And so I really encourage people to contact their accountants and find out what they have available to them. I can't give financial advice, but what I do know is that you do need to remain financially viable as an RTO, as a registration requirement, and this is just one way that we can help you achieve that. But we also have something that we are looking at doing in the next little while. I think we're talking about 5 weeks or so. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so as Raylene and I were having a chat the other day, we were sitting around thinking, what can we do? How can we help? Between the pair of us, we have an immense amount of connections and experts in a whole range of fields. And so what we thought we'd do is put together an online summit. Raylene was actually very busy working hard to put together a summit for training providers that was going to be a physical conference. And there were quite a few hundred people already registered for that. And unfortunately, with the current circumstances globally, that now can unfortunately no longer go ahead. And we thought, well, let's see what we can do online. We're talking about going online, so let's practice what we preach. So we have put together the Training Provider Survival Summit. And between Raylene and I, we'll be bringing together a number of different experts who will be talking all about how we can actually use this changing global situation, because this will be the future. This isn't going to be something that goes back to normal. There will be no business as usual when it comes down to providing training. Things are changing now, and they are changed forever. And we want to bring you the most up-to-date information, practical tips, practical online workshops of exactly what you can do and implement right now to not only enable your training provider organization to survive through this situation, but to find its new normal and to find new ways of continuing to provide education and access to education to people globally in your area of specialization in a way that I hope will be even more profitable for you afterwards than perhaps it was before for today. So Raylene and I actually do have a link. If you, at the moment it's under my website name, it's under sarahcordner.com/summit. Now, at the moment, we are in the very embryonic stages of planning and preparing this, so we would love to hear from you. Do you want to be a speaker? Do you have an area of expertise that will help people not only with surviving the situation, but going on to adjust to the new normal of training delivery? If so, please go to sarahcordner.com/summit, fill in the form and let us know what you can present on. If you are interested in being an attendee and coming and learning from all these experts, we would love to hear from you what topics you would love to hear about. What training do you want? What workshops do you want? What information do you need right now? What would be the best advice or the questions answered that you could get right now that will help you get through this situation? And what do you need to know that will help you survive and continue after this situation? So sarahcordner.com/summit, please make that your first point of call. And Raylene, you know, can you give us any other comments on what you're hoping we're going to sneak into this summit for people?
Yeah, look, one of the things that I'm looking at the moment is a lot of providers are coming to me as RTOs and saying, look, it's just not financially viable for me to maintain my registration as an RTO, either now or moving forward. What can I do? Can I continue to work in teaching and learning and leave a legacy in my industry without being an RTO? Because the cost of compliance and the cost of just continuing to exist in this space is just too much. It's too stressful. There's a whole lot of reasons why people are now starting to question whether or not they want to remain an RTO. So one of the things that I would like to discuss during that summit is I no longer want to be an RTO. What now? That's one of the things that we are looking at discussing. And I had a little list yesterday. I was also looking at bringing on some legal representatives that we work with in the RTO space so that they can give us some expert legal advice in relation to being an education training provider in the current COVID-19 space and what that means for your registration. Looking at inviting some people to discuss things like offshoring and how that may help you survive in the meantime. Looking at some policy things and getting some financial people on board, some accountants to talk about how to maximise the use of the stimulus packages to survive, things like that. I know you had some ideas as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what will be important here is that we want to design this particular summit around the needs of the community. This isn't just going to be for accredited training providers. This will also be for the everyday person providing training, PD, any kind of knowledge-based content. This will be for you as well. So there will be a whole range of rooms on the summit that range from accredited specific information right the way through to the general space of, you know, how do we organize our team from online? How do we, productivity apps? What technology do we use to get online? What equipment do we need to go online? How do I work with my trainers, assessors who have never done this before? When I've got piles and piles of papers and hard copy books, how do I actually move that into something that's online? So we do intend to cover the whole entire spectrum, not only from Raylene's side of the financial viabilities, of the compliance, of the of all sides of it from an accredited perspective, but just in general, education and knowledge sharing in the online space, full stop. If that is of interest to you, please go to sarahcordner.com/summit and put your comments, notes, and ways that you might like to contribute into that as well. And we aim to get that out approximately the end of May. It may be a little bit sooner, but we will make sure that anyone who registers on that form with the expression of interest will get updated as soon as the date is set. And that will be based on obviously when the majority of our experts are available. Otherwise, Raylene, it's been fantastic to speak with you today. This is a massive topic. No doubt we are going to have to do quite a few more of these over the next few weeks as the world continues to change around us. And I love what you're saying here about, this is a time of evolution, and it may just be the time to say, is this the right business model for me now? Some of you, maybe particularly the smaller providers, it actually may be far more profitable, and you may be able to help far more people if you do move out of the accredited space and into the non-accredited. And I really look forward to us to working with people on that summit to help them make that decisions and help them make that assessment for their business, because this is about growth. This is a time of change isn't about things dying. This is about things simply changing and doing what we do in a very different way and on a very different landscape.
Absolutely.
So, Raylene, how can people contact you if they would like to learn about anything to do with international students, any kind of RTO advice, guidance, consultancy, compliance requirements? How can they get in touch?
I have a website, rtodoctor.com.au, and I think it's /contact. You can contact me on the website. You can also contact me by email. And I've also started a Thinkific course that has free registration. It will not cost you anything. And all you do is you just put your name in there, and that is being constantly updated with resources as they become available every day. I try and put at least one video in there every day to give people an update during these crazy times. The world is hectic and turbulent, and everybody is so confused. There's updates that are being provided by the regulator that are outdated half an hour later. So I just try to put all of that information together in one place, and that is the best place for you to access all of that.
And if you are a training provider, I absolutely cannot recommend you join that enough. Now, if you are watching the video of this, Raylene will make a comment in the comments below, so you can reach out and contact her, and she will give you that link to access that free forum where she's constantly updating content daily to help you through the situation. If you are listening to the podcast of this, you can go to rtodoctor.com.au and you will be able to find a link to access that free forum there as well. Raylene, thank you very much for today. For those of you that Raylene mentioned that are interested in getting your education and training programs online, my $500 program, How to Create Profitable Online Courses, is currently completely free of charge. I've opened up access to that so that anyone, anywhere can learn how to get their training, education, knowledge and expertise online. And that is at sarahcordiner.com/freedom. That is free at the time of recording this, and look forward to helping you get online. If you have any questions for either of us, please reach out to either of us individually. And meanwhile, don't forget to get yourself onto that summit link, sarahcordiner.com/summit. Tell us what you want to learn, hear and know. And Raylene and I, along with some incredible industry experts, will be coming at you with the Training Provider Survival Summit very, very soon. Raylene, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.